our very own wonderful Ann Fernandez.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right. So I really miss seeing you all in person, you know, hugs, hugs, hugs. But every once in a while, I am affected. No matter what I do, I'm affected by all of this that's going on. And I just wanted to share something with you that really helps me, and hopefully it'll help you too. And that's really meditating every single morning. It's how I start my day, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's just an awesome way to start your day. And, you know, make up your own mantra. But one that I do for myself is I am fully present here now, and today is all I need to focus on. So I just wanted to share that with you before I started my talk. All right, so the aware soul, who is running your life? I've spent the last 30 years helping clients change habits and behaviors using hypnotherapy, meditation, and other life counseling tools. And I had a lot of successes with all these modalities. But by gauging the information my client gave me and using my intuition, I was able to choose the best modality that worked for that particular client. And sometimes I had to use all. Now, all of these techniques still really work. And I still use them. But my good friend Dale, who is somewhere on there, introduced me to a technique that he's been using to help vets with PTSD and other things. I was amazed at how quickly I was able to become aware of who was running my life. In other words, which self or personality was at the forefront. And he calls this technique voice dialogue. So I realized while going through the process and experiencing this technique that I had been doing something similar for myself years before, and then I'd successfully used it with clients. I came up with a way to connect with all personalities or selves that were vying for my attention, and sometimes all at once. I think you know what I mean. You know, like a group of young kids shouting, me, me, me. Hey, I'm your victim self, or I am your little girl that never felt heard, and of course the list goes on and on. By the way, we all have these different selves. I know it doesn't mean that we're crazy. I know you have experienced one voice saying, yes, do that, and the opposite voice saying, no, don't do that. And we become confused. So one day I sat in meditation, and in that space of stillness, I decided to hold a board meeting with all my selves. Well, I soon learned that without someone in charge, the voices could become overwhelming. So I decided that I would appoint myself as in charge, and I noticed that the voices began to settle just a little. I could now call upon one at a time to make their case, and I would acknowledge what they had to say and then embrace them, letting them know they were all important and being heard. So this insight that came to me in my meditation was a very powerful tool. It allowed me to work on my own personal challenges, and I could begin to shed the aspects of my life that no longer served a purpose. And I even found over time that my clients were able to also make progress. So I was reminded once again of the power of meditation, of stillness and connecting to our highest self, to source. And from this place, we find a wisdom to help us overcome life challenges and to grow. Excuse me. So what attracted me to the voice dialogue technique was the naming of each personality, because I'm very visual. So or the self that was running my life at the time, and becoming aware of the opposite self so that I could find a balance and embrace all parts of myself. It was interesting to connect with a part of myself that had run my life in the past. When I had gotten divorced and felt I had to work many jobs to survive, I created what Dale told me that it was called the pusher, and I like that. This self pushed me into working many jobs because all I could see was the importance of paying bills and putting food on the table. And life became overwhelming, but then I became drained of energy. I also discovered a controller, which developed out of the fear of survival. Hey, if I could control things in my life, then I could survive. But my friend pointed out that there was an opposite self that was not being heard. And for instance, in my case, it was that playful kickback self, or that part of me that could just let go and trust. So I found out that both selves were just as important to create balance in my life. But because of my own fear and my need for survival, I allowed one to take over. So yes, the pusher was necessary and helped me survive. And I still allow that part of myself to run the show when I have goals to accomplish. But I always check in to make sure there's balance, that I'm paying attention to both sides. However, I had an aha moment when my friend Dale helped me give a name to that part of myself that should be in charge. And he called it the aware soul. That really resonates with me, the aware soul. To me, the aware soul is that part of us, which we might call our spirit, our higher self, source, or God. But one thing we all experience from that place is a love, a light, and wisdom that flows and creates feelings of peace and joy. And it is consistent and can guide us on our life's journey. So I began to look at the decisions and choices I made in my life, excuse me, that was disconnected from my aware soul. And I could see how they did not feel quite right. For me, there was an uncomfortable feeling in my gut and also some confusion. Am I making the right decision or not? So you see the different parts of myself and yours that still needs healing and also to be heard would now take this opportunity when I was in confusion to just kind of show up. But I noticed when I went into stillness and connected with my aware soul that the choices I made were in sync with my life path. I did not experience confusion, and I was able to now take action in my life. It seems as though when we can arise above the chaos, whether it's our own personal lives or the current chaos in the universe, we tend to have more clarity and wisdom as we make decisions in our life. I have experienced in my own life and also shared with clients and friends that when things become overwhelming and we struggle with making choices because of too many voices, whether our own voices or that of the world around us, all vying for our attention, we need to step back and free ourselves from the chaos. I believe that our aware soul, source, God, our higher self, whatever name you give it, is a powerful place that provides us with the wisdom, the love, and light that we need to take action in our world. So I have used other techniques such as writing to help give voice to that part of myself that needed healing. In simple terms, when things become confusing, step back, take a breath, so that you can have a clearer vision. It can be freeing when we become the observer. And I always talk about that. I love, being the observer. It gives so much more clarity. Before making life choices, rather than making them from the midst of confusion and emotion. Most importantly, connect with your aware soul. Let that be the energy that runs your life. Listen, embrace all aspects of yourself. Honor all the voices because they need to be heard and healed, or they would not be trying to run your life. Again, when one aspect of yourself is at the forefront and you begin to feel overwhelmed and tired, just stop. Tap into and listen to the opposite side. Find your balance. Realize that we all have unhealed wounds on some level, but without a solid, consistent, all-knowing voice in charge, we become stagnant in our life journey, and we keep doing the same dance over and over again and getting the same results. So I have mentioned before that I spent many years working with kids of different ages and cultures in an outdoor environment. And one of the many goals I was there to accomplish was to help them be more empowered as individuals and to learn the importance of positive impact and of community. I'm only sharing this experience to demonstrate that without proper leadership, having someone in charge, how easily chaotic things can become. I was always excited to introduce the kids to nature because in my mind, it was a way of connecting them with something more than what they were currently experiencing in their lives. To me, nature meant spirit. So we would start on our journey down a trail, and I would share information about the flora and fauna we would encounter along the way. This would definitely spark some interest, but sooner or later, kids would go off the path, which could possibly put them in danger, or they would talk loudly with their friends as I was speaking. Well, you get the picture. The only way to bring them back to some normalcy was to allow my voice of authority to surface. As soon as they realized someone was in charge, I now had their attention. I could then let them individually express themselves and be heard and acknowledged. As we continued our hike, I noticed a difference. They paid attention to the information shared and actually participated in activities that I provided. They were heard, and that helped build their self-confidence. However, the most powerful impact I noticed was when I invited them to sit comfortably near some trees, close their eyes for a few minutes. And because I was not allowed to use the word meditation or higher self, I made it into a game, a sort of competition. I would tell them that if they just closed their eyes and just shared what they felt after I had directed them to open their eyes, and what they smelled, what they heard, and just anything else that came up, that this was a little competition to see who heard what, who smelled what, that sort of thing. I must say I grinned from ear to ear because the sharing was from a much deeper level, such as they said things like, I felt safe and calm when I felt the wind, or I felt like I could fly like the bird that I heard singing. Now I know that these kids went back to their communities, shifted in some way. They may not have a name for it, but they connected with their aware soul on some level. Needless to say, the hike back was a little different. There was less talking and more noticing of the surroundings. Again, when we allow our aware soul to be in charge and make decisions and choices from that place within, we experience clarity, peace, and it just becomes easier to take the right action on our life's journey. We must listen to and acknowledge all the voices or selves, because sometimes they still need to be heard and they still need to be healed. That allows us to move forward. Just like the children needed to be acknowledged and express themselves. But someone has to be at the forefront, running our lives, so that we can step back and create a space of clarity and wisdom. I have found that by allowing my aware soul to be in charge and run my life, even though I continue to still have challenges, that I can move through these challenges with ease and still experience joy and peace. So I ask you, who is running your life right now? Is it a part of yourself that still needs to be heard and healed, and therefore creating blocks that keep you from moving forward? Or is it your aware soul, the part of you that only knows pure love, light, and wisdom, your connection with universal source, with God? So by stilling your mind and connecting with your aware soul through any form of meditation, you know, this roller coaster ride we're all on of lessons and growth can actually be a welcome adventure. So spend a few minutes later today and just think about who's running your life. Is it balanced? Are you listening to all parts of yourself? And connect with your aware soul. Okay, I'm going to go into a short meditation. So you all know the routine. You can close your eyes, you can open your eyes, whatever way you meditate. And as always, take a deep breath, you know, that life force flowing through our bodies that we take for granted. And as that breath flows through you, I want you to feel, imagine, picture, whatever way it comes to you, what it feels like when you are connected to Source, when you are connected to your aware soul. And I know you all have that experience. So as you take that breath in, become aware of your aware soul, of spirit, of that part of you that has always guided you on the right path in life. And while you're in that place of connecting with your aware soul, whether you see it as a bright white light, or whether you just feel it as an energy, or just a feeling of peace and calmness, stay in that space. And I want you to just pay attention for a moment. I'll be quiet for a moment, and I want you to pay attention to any parts of yourself that may have been trying to get your attention. Again, it could be a part of you that felt like a victim at some point in your life. Or it could be a part of you that says, hey, you know, let's act like children and laugh and have joy and fun. But when we're in that quiet space, we can hear those voices clearly that need to come to the forefront, that need to be heard, that need to be expressed. So just take a moment and focusing on your aware soul, on Source, on God, whatever you choose to call it, and allow whichever voice has been vying for your attention, allow it to come forward and be heard. And let that voice know that you embrace it, that you honor it, and you're willing to listen. This could be something from the past. This could be something present, something that needs healing, to be heard, to be embraced. And know that there's nothing right or wrong about these parts of ourselves. They make us whole when they all come together in balance, when we can heal each one, when we can hear each one, when we can embrace each one. We become more empowered because now we become whole. But always connect with your aware soul, with that part of you that is always centered and all-knowing, as you listen to these parts of yourselves and you make your life decisions and choices, because it will be the right one, whatever it is. So now take another deep breath and really feeling and experiencing that aware soul, that part of you that makes you feel centered. And let that light just spread all over you, inside of you, outside of you, so that for the rest of this day and the rest of this week, you can experience that love and that light and that wisdom, that joy that comes from each and every one of you, from your aware soul. Namaste. Thank you.
All right.